like 5:30. I want to call to order the Board of Fire Department Fire District monthly meeting Tuesday, August 10th. The hybrid meeting, we are meeting live at Freedom Hall, public online on Zoom. Let's begin with roll call. Present is Commissioner Zano.
Commissioner Conley.
Commissioner Zace.
Chief Rude, Deputy Pouliot.
Thank you. I want to advise anyone listening in on Zoom that the chat function will be available during the public comment order, and the meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the website. Okay. Let's begin with public comment. Do we have any public comment via the chat? Chief, nothing coming up?
Nope.
Okay. We have received copies of the minutes of the previous meeting. I've had a chance to review them and I have no problem with them.
They're fine.
Commissioner Conley, all good.
And I move that we accept them as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Conley.
Zace.
Chief, what's the rating report?
I'm sorry, Mr. Report.
Yeah, please.
For the, like, make sure it's on. For the month of July, we had 84 total responses, 2 fires. One was a car fire in Cotuit. One was a mutual aid structure fire to Calm, to Osterville, actually. 51 medical calls, 2 watercraft rescues. One was a mutual aid to Mashpee and one was in Cotuit. Both were kayakers that were thought to be in distress. One made it to shore prior to arrival. One was able to, the one in Mashpee was able to get back into the kayak and wasn't under distress when we arrived. 6 hazardous condition calls, most of which were wires down, and 23 service good intent false alarm calls. Administration, a little bit of the COVID, as everybody knows, the COVID rates nationally and specifically in Cape Cod are significantly higher. We've made a decision at the fire department to follow CDC guidelines, so our staff will be wearing facial coverings anytime they're in public places. So, although it's not a state mandate, we're following CDC recommendations. We have some new SOGs we're working on. They weren't ready in time for this meeting, so we're not on the cloud file, so we don't have those. Other administration, we're also looking at shift changes for the coming month. It's been a year and a half since we changed up shifts, and the deputy and I are talking about evening out experience levels, boat operators, to try to make a more efficient group. So we're looking at that as well. Training wise, we've got a hose handling search and rescue scheduled for September 15th. That's 9 a.m. to noon. We intend to hold that at the Cotuit Elementary School. We're still waiting on the final okay from the town, but it looks like it's not going to be a problem. We've got forcible entry scheduled for October 12th, same time, 9 to noon. And that's with a mobile prop that's offered by Barnstable County. We have that will be the school most likely too. I'm not sure the size of the trailer, but more than likely it won't fit with ours, so it'll have to be positioned at the school. Is that right, Deputy?
Yeah, probably we need the school facility itself.
Correct, just the parking lot. We've got a community CPR schedule for October 4th, which will be at Freedom Hall. And that's going to be from 5 to 8. That's going to be advertised in the Cotuit Currents. So people will be emailing our EMS officer with interest. So we'll see if that class fills up, we'll schedule more and we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, that would be potentially vulnerable to cancellation if the COVID protocols increase, right? We can't keep that under the full mask distancing.
No,
I think it depends on the guideline. More than likely we'll wear masks. If we can social distance, then we'll do it. So that does potentially be canceled depending on the level and and state, state advisories at the time and CDC recommendations.
So for people who are interested, they should be monitoring, making sure that.
Right, so they've got a schedule with our EMS officers, who will have their contact information. We'll let them know if there has to be a postponement.
Good, even easier, thank you.
We're also going to be doing CPR, first aid training for the Boy Scouts. We're waiting to see what date that's going to happen. So our EMS officer, Casey Staggs, is working with the Boy Scouts, the two Boy Scouts, to see when they're going to do that. And we've also offered other training to them, including boat safety training, fire safety training. So we're hoping that we can make that more permanent type of a training with the Boy Scouts.
Perfect.
Again, that's on the Cotuit Currents listing that's coming out. I haven't seen it yet. Have you guys gotten the current yet?
No, I haven't.
No. EMS, pro EMS, don't have a new report since our last meeting was so late. There hasn't been a new report issued since then. We still have one personnel out on IOD, no real change. We're seeing a little bit of improvement, but I don't have anything more than that to report. I wish I did.
Well, the next EMS would accumulate with July.
EMS report. The pro EMS report. So it's typically a month. It usually comes out, I think, on the 15th of the month. So last month we got. There probably was two I could have given you last month. So maybe you missed one. I'll have to go back. Maybe there was two that were available last month. I might have just given you the most recent one. I'll have to go back and look. You'll definitely have one next month. It could have been one that I missed because our last meeting was so late last month. Let me double check on that one.
Good, thank you.
Sorry. Apparatus, nothing to report, everything's in service. 263, our backup engine went to Sandwich for 2 days. Out, back in service, no problems. Facilities, we haven't made much progress since the 2 weeks ago we talked, so we still have some painting and some walls and first floor to do. But we haven't found some of the contract to do that with yet, so we'll work on that over the next month.
If I can interject, I don't know about either of you, I had an opportunity the other morning to take a quick walk through and look at the status of the facilities upgrade and the clean out, all the old accumulated stuff. It looks world. And I would urge anyone who's interested in station tour to take advantage of it. It's available. Take a look at the improvements.
No, go ahead, finish it, and then I'll have a couple of questions, unless you
The only other thing I was going to say is station tours. So we talked before about having station tours as part of the listing of the Cotuit Currents. With the COVID increase, we're putting off any tours of the station right now. We're holding off on that. Like chief's report.
We talked about this last time briefly, but real quick, when was the date of the injury again?
The date of the injury, we had a
It was May 12th.
May 12th, I believe. Yeah. I get the more.
No, it's something that I was having a conversation today with Com, unrelated to the business, that just reminded me, are there any repeat offenders and false alarms? Because I was being asked by them, hey, you got to pay some money here because we keep coming down. So we're changing out our, this is
False alarms for firewalls?
Yeah. It's just of the 23 calls that are service, good intent. Is there any way to break those out as one? But also, are there any repeat false alarms?
We do have false alarms. We deal with them when they happen and work with people to get their alarm systems fixed. We don't. I mean, the deputy probably know better than I can't think of any that we have that are regulars, frequent false alarms. Many towns I work with before have penalties. Typically, it's $50 if you get a third false alarm in a year. You get a $50 fine.
I'm charged as 100.
100, okay. We don't have many of those. I would, when we could certainly, I could go back at the last year and take a look and see how kind of multiples we have, but really, mean, our residents are pretty good, and when they have problems, they address them pretty quickly. Is that fair to say, Deb?
Yeah, usually if we're out there, 2 or 3 times and growers of a short period, the homeowners take care of it.
And with this good intent, really, I didn't mean to ask.
Good intent. The neighbors see smoke coming from a neighbor's house, and we get there, and it turns out to be steam from a dryer. It was a good intent. They reported something I thought was an emergency, it turned out not to be. They have good intent boat calls on a regular basis. They see someone out in the water, think they're in distress, call the fire department, we get there, and it was a good intent, but it wasn't a real emergency.
All right. And last, I don't, not to be a stickler on these things, but I was looking at the run report by the apparatus, and it appears that there's, on the report, only 49 runs were accounted for by those three, 262, 53, 65. Were the rest of the calls handled by?
No, there's we quite figured out there's some type of an error in that report that doesn't count. It gives you close to it, but
Okay.
obviously we did, how many calls we did? We did 84 calls, then we had to at least have 84 vehicles, 84 responses.
Right.
So in general, it's, 51 medicals, but 51 times 262 responded. And then 2 fires, the hazardous conditions, so those 8 of those. So at least 8 times the engine responded. There were 23 service good intent. Most of theirs are engine calls too. So, so you're right. If you add it up, it doesn't add to the 84 total calls.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Well, take a look at the report. Had a problem with that one.
And speaking of the deputies, what's the news on your vehicle, the deputy chief vehicle, if any?
We're still.
What is it, October, you said? September.
What was that
September.
question?
When is his new car coming? Okay,
The replacement car for the deputies due in September.
September?
Any other questions?
No, thanks.
I do actually, going back to administration, I think you're referencing scheduling and redoing scheduling.
Scheduling software.
Yeah, okay, so the software you referring to.
We were talking about scheduling software. We ended up going with the same company we're using for all our other software.
Right, no, I got it now. I somehow was lost in the translation with the feedback and so forth, so I understand. Thank you.
So we've got it so that the shifts are all scheduled out indefinitely, so it's set. Scott Lanson's kind of the one that we had working with the manufacturer, the pro software company to do the training. So he's coming on Friday. So we're hoping that he gets on Friday and we can start training everybody how to use it. So it should be pretty much set up. We're waiting for him to kind of, put the trainer information he got into place.
Got it, thank you.
And then our scheduling will integrate on the one software.
All one software. So when you have a vehicle or in a response, it automatically drags the people on duty onto the correct vehicles, and it eliminates mistakes, makes it simpler.
Once that's fully operational, it may also address the question about, your earlier question about the apparatus.
The vehicle.
Right.
Okay. Anything else, Chief?
That's all I got. I think was a new business, old business. That's all for Chief's report.
Policy advisory committee update?
I sent you guys a text of that policy. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it.
I have.
I apologize for the sort of short notice here. Have you had a chance to review it?
Yes, I have, sir.
Thoughts?
Conceptually, I think it's a good idea. I think it is a good idea. I would support the idea of doing both on the front end and in the back. So I think that's good. I was wondering, the town of Barnstable, I believe, do they have a 2-minute limit on comments for town meeting?
I have no idea.
They have, they do have limits on their full meetings. I don't know about their subcommittees.
I'm not talking about something. I guess where I'm going with that is I think it's a good idea to have both on the front end and the back. So beginning and the end of this session, I think it's a good idea. I think we should probably have a limit of 2 minutes on the front end and on the back end. So not limiting a person to 2 minutes in total. So if somebody wanted to make a comment up front for 2 minutes, great. And if somebody had comments at the end for 2 minutes, fantastic. I just want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position that we have some limitations as appropriate on it, that's all. Should not be an issue, but that's my thoughts.
I also have a chance to look at it and I haven't I expressed last time. For example, today's meeting is moving quickly. It'll time at the end, like, even for public comment in the past. We've done that whenever there was interest and we had time. I just feel constrained in terms of limiting the chair of or the committee as a body when things are dragging on or complicated. Gets to be a long night. I would very much like to retain the option to so we have invited, we are inviting comment via email or phone at any point. And then I tell you the truth, no one's ever availed that option of me. If I get one a year, that's a lot. And, sorry, uneasy with just one more reduction of discretionary authority to manage meetings and what would need to be the most efficient. But
Can I make a quick comment, 2 quick comments on that? One, I think when you have things that are nebulous, where you can make a decision as you feel fit, I think that creates some potential issues, right? So in other words, why, it really wasn't that late. Why did you close it off when I wanted to say something? Versus last week when that person was telling you what good people you were, last month as would be, you gave them time to speak. So I think it's you got to be careful with that. And I think if you had something specific in place that protects you against that thing. So that's number 1. Number 2, do we know what the water department and the Prudential Committee have done relative to this subject?
As I mentioned last week.
I don't recall on it.
Okay. Well, if you're, they approved it as written. I don't know what to do now from a logistical standpoint or a mechanical standpoint, whether we this policy advisory committee has not yet met for this coming fiscal year. So,
you mean,
yeah, I don't know if it's from a sort of a perspective of what's the right thing to do. Is do we approve this with changes? Do we go back to the group? So
we can bring it.
Just so you know, Fran has typed into the chat that town council has a 3-minute limit on public comment.
well, I mean, I agree that it shouldn't, public comment, the intent of this, from my recollection of the meetings, was not to get into harangues, but it was just to be able to ask questions without having to wait another month. I mean, that was the overarching idea. And, it does lend itself towards a feeling of more transparency. Not that we're not transparent, but so that's where that was the thrust or the spirit of this. So I don't know if it's allowable from the standpoint of the fire district to change on the fly here in this in this board relative to the.
So I guess
we're free to adopt whatever form.
that's right.
So if you want to make a motion to amend this.
There's nothing to be amended right now. This is a recommendation from a policy committee.
Right.
And as such, it has no standing in this committee until we make a decision on what we want to do. So this is a framework, in my opinion.
So you're the chair, so you can decide what to do now. This is the policy as written and proposed to the various, the 3 commissions in town. We're the ones that are still debating it, so.
All right, then I'm going to make a motion to consider the public comment recommendation of the policy advisory committee with the notation of a 3-minute limit on individual comment. And I would accept the second.
Second.
And any other discussion?
Is that a total of 3 minutes, or is that 3 minutes on the front and 3 minutes on the back? I mean, it's kind of important.
Yeah, 3-minute on, 3-minute limit on individual comment.
I have trouble with
And
this.
any comment, any comment is limited by 3 minutes.
Any comment?
Regardless of where it's from.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so,
Nothing else?
Commissioner Zates, aye, on the amendment, or no, the motion as put before the board.
Agree. Aye.
And Conley, you're.
Conley, agree.
And I will abstain, and motion carries 2-0.
Would you like me to retype this?
Please. And we can just, if you can retype it and send it to the chief, if it could be put in with minutes. That's it. Elementary school update? Is there anything?
None.
Okay. Firefighter Fitness Committee.
No update at this time. We're waiting for a recommendation, I believe, from the fire, from the firefighters, from the union. We're waiting on a write-up, right, chief?
We're still waiting from, so we've got firefighter Brian Lee and Christian Gardner working with Union President Casey Staggs. They're coming up with some recommended guideline based on the strength and conditioning class they took in Hyannis Fire. So we're still waiting for that.
Okay. Fine. New business. The September 11th ceremony.
We'll be at the station outside. As usual, I think it's 9 a.m. Is that right, Deputy? At 9 a.m.
Okay. Other business topics not anticipated? All right, then I'm going to move the committee go into executive session under purpose 1 to discuss reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline, dismissal of or charges or against employee, staff member, individual, the individual to be discussed in executive session shall be notified and by the public within hours of the executive session. However, notification may be waived upon written agreement of the parties who will not return to open session.
Comments? I do believe we have a procedural issue here. I think we just voted to have comments at the rate of a regular meeting. So we did not ask for public comment prior to asking whether, making a motion to go into executive session.
I will suspend the motion on executive session and open the floor to public comment.
Anybody in the Zoom world for a public comment?
Thank you, sir.
The absence of any further public comment, the motion to go into executive session is back on the floor.
Second.
Seconded, in favor, Donna.
Conley?
Zates.
This meeting is, public meeting is concluded, and we're in executive session. Can you handle the